Today, we're going back in time to a news story from 1984. Now, this is a story that is so extreme, so genuinely shocking, it really forces you to ask some huge questions about family, freedom, and what we believe. And it all kicks off with this one single horrifying sentence.
Yeah, you heard that right. This was a real headline, a real story, reported in one of Japan's biggest newspapers, the Asahi Shimbun. It's the kind of thing that just stops you in your tracks. So the question is, how on earth does a family argument get to this point? Let's unpack it.
So everything we're talking about comes from that original 1984 article. It was titled Faith Unbroken, Chain Broken, and it's just this incredible document of a family's absolutely desperate attempt to get their daughter back from a new faith, an attempt that, well, it crossed every single line you can imagine. At the heart of this whole thing was a 20-year-old university student. She joined a student group that was connected to the Unification Church, found a new community there, and decided to move into a group dorm. For her parents, though, this was a complete nightmare. They just saw their daughter drifting into this world they didn't know or understand, and their opposition to it became, well, absolute. And this opposition, it didn't just stay at the level of arguments or tearful pleas. No, it escalated into something truly terrifying. After they failed once to bring her home, the family actually lured her into a car. They drove her out to this remote mountain villa, and that's where their plan became chillingly clear. For 20 days. Just let that sink in. 20 days. That's nearly 3 weeks. This young woman was chained by her ankles to a pillar inside a room. The article says she could only move a few dozen centimeters. She was watched constantly, no privacy, and absolutely no way out. But somehow, she found a way to fight back, and her weapon wasn't anything dramatic. It was something you probably have in your house right now. She managed to talk a family member into lending her a simple nail clipper. I mean, can you even imagine the sheer will this must have taken? For a whole day, she just sat there, painstakingly scraping and cutting away at one single link of that chain with this tiny little clipper. And eventually, she broke through. She waited for a moment when her guard was dozing off, and she just ran for it, out into the mountains with the broken chain still locked around her ankles. And the note she left behind for the parents who had imprisoned her? It wasn't full of anger. There was no talk of revenge. Just this absolutely heartbreaking plea. Please leave me alone for a while. All she wanted was her freedom, not payback. So this is the part we all have to ask, right? Why? What could possibly drive parents to chain up their own daughter? The article actually gives us a glimpse into how they were thinking. And it's a perspective that was born out of pure fear and this profound sense of loss. This slide, I think, really gets to the heart of the problem in their minds. On one side, you have their daughter, the college student, the child they knew and raised. But on the other side, she'd become this convert, living somewhere else, part of what they saw as an unknown world. In their eyes, she'd become a stranger, and they were terrified they had lost her for good. And that was their justification, quoted directly in the newspaper. They genuinely believed that what they were doing, as extreme as it was the only possible way to rescue the daughter they felt they had lost. It's such a chilling statement, and it just shows you how deep their desperation went. But here's the thing. The parents weren't entirely acting on their own. The article reveals that they were actually being advised by a so-called rescuer, a kind of deconversion activist who encouraged them to go down this path, pushing the family right over a serious legal and ethical line. This rescuer, as they were called, tried to defend the confinement. They didn't call it imprisonment. They said it was a way to create a calm space for dialogue. I mean, it's a shocking way to describe chaining a person to a pillar, right? Their involvement adds this whole other disturbing layer of professional coercion to what was already a family tragedy. But, the law was, and still is, perfectly clear on this. A lawyer quoted in the article, Masayo Ono, didn't mince words. He said, flat out, this is illegal confinement, plain and simple. The rights of an adult can't just be taken away, not even by their own parents. And what's really alarming is that the article points out that this wasn't just a one-off thing. It actually mentions other cases where believers were confined by having their windows nailed shut, or were even drugged with sleeping pills and forcibly put in the hospital. This one story was really a window into a much wider, deeply troubling pattern. So, this all brings us to the fundamental question at the heart of this entire story. When you're faced with a belief system you don't understand or you don't agree with, can force ever really be the answer? Can you physically make someone change what's in their heart and their mind? Well, the answer, at least in this case, was a definite no. The chains didn't bring their daughter back. They drove her even further away. After she escaped, she went into hiding. She was terrified of her own family, so scared she couldn't even go back to her university classes. That rift just became a giant chasm. And in the end, the journalist who broke this story left readers with this final, powerful thought, a thought that feels just as important today as it did back then. The article's last words really say it all. The weapon to face a problem of the heart should be a patient, warm heart, not chains. Of this, there is no mistake.